Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Well, we're back, and one of the partners that you hear, especially on the Dove radio and seen here on the Dove TV, is a great organization, LoveJoy Hospice. And we have with us today Nancy Livingood. She is the Social Support Service Manager for LoveJoy Hospice. And by the way, their website is lovejoyhospice.org. And you talk about a terrific organization providing a wonderful service. These folks do it. So Nancy, nice to have you. How you doing?
I'm doing well,
Good
and
to
it's
see
a
you
pleasure to be here.
And again, thank you for all that you do. You folks are wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Tell us about LoveJoy's Treehouse. What's going on there?
Well, LoveJoy's Treehouse is a twice yearly grief support group for children and their families. It runs 6 weeks, and it's scheduled to start a week from this Thursday.
Okay.
So it's scheduled to run from October 9th to November 13th in the evenings at LoveJoy Hospice in Grants Pass. It's open to folks who had someone on LoveJoy Hospice service or just people in the community at large. They don't have to have been served by LoveJoy Hospice. And the intent is to help children and families start figuring out how to live now with that loss, be it a sibling, a friend, a family member, someone who was important in their lives. There are group activities based on age. There's a support group built into it for the parents or the adults in the children's lives. So everything is age appropriate and geared toward just kind of helping people normalize and learn how to cope with that loss and hopefully find more joy in their memories over time than tears at the loss.
You know, I think we forget that children grieve too. You know,
they sure do.
Well, I mean, why the parents or the adults are grieving, the children are watching this and trying to figure out what's happening and what is happening.
Right,
you
right.
know? So you included children, and so
Yes.
how does that work? What do you do for them?
Well, the group starts out, the evening starts out with everybody in the same room, adults and children, and there are some warm-up activities. People get familiar with each other, and then we split up, and again, the groups are divided by age. The activities are divided also by age, whether it's arts and crafts, whether it's talking, whether it's music, whether it's our pet partners. We have therapy dogs that come in and just spend time with the kids. And while we do have themes that we follow, we have, you could call it a lesson plan, we also try to take our cues from where the kids are going, what they're wanting to do. And so we try to let things kind of happen as they need and want. Then at the end of that separate group time, they come back together and kind of share and talk about what they learned. And sometimes they're given a little bit of homework. It's always pretty lightweight, but a little bit of homework to take home and work on for the next session.
So, what are some of the issues that children deal with when they have the loss of someone? I mean, what are some of the biggies that they deal with?
Well, I think it depends very much on the age of the children. How a 2-year-old might respond to the death of someone in their family is going to be different from a 15-year-old or an 8-year-old. And I think, not to be glib, I think the biggest challenge is that sometimes we adults don't stop and think about, what do these kids understand about death? To us, presumably, we understand that that death has come and that person isn't coming back in this life, and what does that mean? Well, for a child, especially a very young one, they don't understand that. They don't have the perspective and maturity at their developmental stage to take that in and really know what that means. So depending on the age of the child, it could be, well, did I cause grandma's death? Or, well, if I do this, will grandma come back? And it's hard for kids because they don't have the wisdom and the perspective. They're not hardwired that way. They haven't learned yet.
If there is really deep grieving by an adult in the home, that probably adds to the pressure of the child, doesn't it?
Sure, because, you know, the kids, as you say, they watch, they observe, they listen, and they try to make sense without having a lot of perspective to do so. I think I would say for an adult trying to help their child or a child in their life cope and come to terms with the grief and grow from it and find that joy that I referred to, I think the number one thing would be, just let your child talk. Don't shut them down, which is hard because often adults don't want to talk. It's painful. But if you communicate, if you're open and allow questions to be asked and allow feelings to be felt, then we can move through it, whether we're a 2-year-old or a 20-something or an older adult.
All right, again, the program starts coming up October 9th.
Yes.
And it'll go for how many weeks?
6 weeks.
Okay. And should they call LoveJoy at 474-1193?
Yes, they can call LoveJoy, and they can also check with any of the schools in Josephine County. They have our applications, or they can go to our website for more information.
Okay, that's lovejoyhospice.org.
Yes.
Or 541-474-1193. That's 474-1193. And it all starts a week from this Thursday, October 9th, and goes on for those several weeks. Sometimes we say, well, Uncle Johnny or Grandma went to heaven. Is that enough to say to a child?
I think if you think about us, think about adults, we may have that faith. We may have a belief that there's something beyond here, call it heaven. But you're still dealing with the here and now.
Right.
We may have a sense of peace that our loved one isn't suffering and they're at peace, but we're still in our flesh and blood bodies. And so is that enough? I think sometimes we want it to be, but we're still dealing with the here and now. And I think being able to process that, bring it in and be able to work toward peace about it. So on the surface, wouldn't it be great if it was enough?
Yeah.
But we're still dealing with this.
Yeah.
And how do we find that peace?
Sometimes we just think kids are resilient and they can get over it quicker than we can. Is that a wrong assumption?
Kids are remarkably resilient, and yet if they're not given the opportunity to work toward finding that joy instead of being stuck in the pain, a pattern can get established that might hinder that child as they get older from being able to process other losses. I mean, part of life is loss, whether it's a death or disappointments, other things that happen. And so I think to just say, oh, well, they'll bounce back, they're resilient, is doing the kids a disservice in that they're not given the opportunity to grow from the experience instead of just kind of shutting things down and leaving them where they are.
The reason I ask that question, I've seen that mistake so often in divorce. In some ways, divorce is a death.
It sure is.
Because there's a separation, and they think, oh, well, the kids will get over it. No, wait a minute here. These kids have just been traumatized. But if mommy or daddy have been permanently taken out, I mean, that is, what an incredible thing for them to begin to process. And so over the 6-week period of time, what's the goal? What are you trying to do with these children?
Well, what we're trying to do with the children and the adults in their lives, whether it's parents, guardians, grandparents, is to foster communication, foster that death is a normal part of life. And if people can start understanding they're not alone, they haven't been singled out, that they don't feel so isolated. They don't feel so afraid. And for, especially for the younger kids, hopefully they're not thinking, well, I made this happen.
Yeah.
If, was it something I did or didn't do that made this happen?
Well, I can't say enough for this organization and what they do and the services they provide. And if, your family ever comes in these situations where you need hospice, please don't be delaying and calling them. I think so often we think that we're not ready for that, when really your services extend way down into this process and really provide so much care, no matter where you are in the process of losing a loved one. But for children, I think this is remarkable, and I'm so glad to see you do this. I personally have seen this and been involved with families with this, and I can tell you, I think we just assume kids will get over it quickly. And yet deep in their little hearts, they really don't know how to get it out. And your goal is to help them to get it out.
Right.
Because that's where the healing comes, right?
Right, right.
All right, again, it's a 6-week program. Starts coming up a week from Thursday, October 9th, and you should just give them a call over there at the LoveJoy Hospice. It's 474-1193. That's in Grants Pass, so that's area code 541-474-1193. Or you can go online at lovejoyhospice.org, and you can connect with them there. And it's for everybody, really, the whole family.
Yes, yes. And there's no charge for it. And again, people do not have to have been served by LoveJoy Hospice. They don't have to have had a loved one on our hospice service. It's open to the community.
Wow, that's wonderful. In the program, what are some of the coping skills you're trying to get the kids to attach to?
Coping skills for the kids?
Yeah.
I think number one in my mind, it's that they're normal.
Okay.
You know, that again, they haven't been singled out. They're not to blame. Just kind of normalizing again that death is a part of life, and then that feelings can come and go. They may have one morning, and we're like this. One morning you wake up and the grief is right there, and it's as if it happened a moment ago instead of maybe a year ago. But feelings can pass. And you can learn to cope with your feelings. You can learn to channel them into positive means instead of getting swallowed up by them and bogged down by them. That life does go on, and you can find ways of developing the joy, again, more than the sadness.
Well, again, we're out of time, but give them a call, 474-1193, and the course starts next Thursday, October 9th, or lovejoyhospice.org. What an incredible service. Nancy, thank you. And again, thank you to you and your team for what you guys provide and the services that you do over there. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's an honor.
We'll see you next time on Focus Today.